because the tactics unfolding on that highway spoke of capture as much as elimination. Whoever had orchestrated this didn't want just destruction. They wanted possession. They wanted control of something, or someone, inside that patrol car. The new vehicle ahead swerved violently, cutting across both lanes, trying to force them into a fatal choice: slow down and face the black sedan, or crash headlong into its blockade. Mark refused both options. With a controlled burst of acceleration, he threaded the patrol car through a gap so narrow that David later admitted he closed his eyes, convinced they were about to die. The car scraped metal, mirrors shattered, but somehow they emerged on the other side, still alive, still moving. David's first-person account captures the desperation. I could smell the rubber burning. I could taste the glass in the back of my throat. And I thought, how much longer can this last? How much longer can one man keep us alive? But Mark, he just kept driving, like he'd already decided nothing was going to stop us. But the attackers were relentless. The black sedan surged again, slamming into the patrol car's rear bumper with a sickening jolt. The impact rattled through their bodies, nearly spinning them out of control. Mark fought the wheel, counter-steering with precision honed by years of combat driving. The car fishtailed, then straightened. Still alive, still moving. The black sedan tried again, this time pulling alongside, its passengers visible for the first time, masked, armed, focused. These were not reckless criminals. Their movements were measured, professional. Even at high speeds, their control was unshaken. Mark glanced once, eyes locking on the faces of men who had come for him. He didn't flinch. He didn't panic. His voice, steady and low, carried the weight of certainty. This isn't their first hunt. David's voice trembled as he whispered back, "Then why us?" The question hung heavy. Why would trained operatives risk their lives in such a violent, public, coordinated attack? What made Mark and David so valuable? No answer came, only more aggression. The black sedan swerved again, trying to force them into a collision with the median. The sound of screeching tires filled the night, sparks showering as metal scraped concrete. Yet Mark refused to yield. Every move they made, he countered. Every trap they set, he found a way out. But survival came at a cost. The patrol car was breaking down. Its frame groaned with every maneuver. Its windshield was gone. Its tires screamed under the pressure. And still, the attackers pressed forward. David would later admit that in those moments, he lost hope. "I thought, even if we survive the next minute, we can't survive the next hour. They'll wear us down. The car will give out. And when it does, we're done." But Mark's voice never faltered. Calm, steady, unshaken. "Not tonight," he said. Those two words became a mantra. Not tonight. For every ramming attempt, for every swerve, for every trap, Mark had an answer. Years of experience, instincts honed in war, and a willpower that refused to yield. And then, just when it seemed the black sedan had committed fully to ending it once and for all, the attack shifted again. The second vehicle reappeared, this time not as a blockade, but as reinforcement. It swerved in beside the black sedan, the two vehicles now operating in tandem, pressing harder, faster, deadlier. Mark and David were outnumbered, outgunned, and trapped. The highway became a gauntlet, two hostile vehicles pressing them from either side, boxing them in, squeezing them toward disaster. David's voice broke as he recalled that moment. "I thought of my family. I thought of my mom. I thought, this is the last night I'll ever see. And then I got angry, really angry, because I realized these men were willing to kill us without even showing their faces." Mark, still steady, muttered words that David never forgot. "Then we make them work for it." With that, he executed a maneuver that few could have managed. Waiting for the briefest gap, he slammed the wheel, braking and accelerating in rhythm, forcing the patrol car into a near spin that scraped both enemy vehicles, but bought just enough space to break free. The patrol car roared forward, battered but unbroken. The black sedan and its partner scrambled to recover, but Mark had already opened a gap. For the first time that night, distance stretched between predator and prey. And yet, even as the gap widened, neither man inside the patrol car felt relief. Because they knew the truth. This wasn't over. This wasn't even close. David's voice was heavy as he later explained. They weren't going to stop. I could feel it. No matter how far we got, they'd keep coming. They'd follow us into the city, into the country, anywhere. Because this wasn't about revenge or anger. This was about a mission, and missions don't end until they succeed, or until everyone on the mission is dead. Mark knew it too. His voice was calm, but his words were clear. We're not running from men. We're running from orders. And orders, once given, do not stop. That was the reality of that night. A reality more terrifying than the crash, the chase, or the violence itself. Because if men are willing to sacrifice themselves in such a coordinated, relentless attack, it means only one thing. What Mark and David carried, whether information, evidence, or something else entirely, was worth dying for, and worth killing for. The highway stretched on. The night deepened. The attackers regrouped. Mark and David were still alive, but their nightmare was far from over. The ambush had failed. The chase had escalated, but the mission was still alive. And as long as the mission lived, so did the hunt. The footage eventually came to an end, but the story did not. What began as a sudden ambush on a dark stretch of road spiraled into one of the most harrowing pursuits ever caught on tape. The patrol car, scarred with bullet holes, limped its way to a halt after miles of fighting just to stay on the road. Smoke curled from the hood, glass was shattered, and the interior was littered with fragments of steel and plastic. Both officers were alive, but barely. Their uniforms were torn, their breathing heavy, and their nerves shaken to the core. The red sedan? It was gone. Disappeared into the night like a predator melting into the shadows. But its trail was far from erased. When backup units arrived, they found the scene like something out of a war zone. Tire marks scorched into the asphalt, bullet casings scattered along the chase route, and a patrol vehicle that looked more like a battlefield relic than a functioning cruiser. I remember looking at the report and thinking, this wasn't random. The way the attackers struck, the precision of their moves, the timing of their ambush, it was coordinated. They weren't just trying to intimidate, they were trying to eliminate. Investigators pieced together fragments of the night. Surveillance cameras picked up glimpses of the red sedan weaving through traffic minutes before the ambush. Witnesses described hearing rapid gunfire echoing through the streets. Some said they saw sparks flying from the pavement as bullets skipped across the asphalt. But there was one detail that still chills me. A neighbor, who lived along the chase route, reported seeing a figure leaning halfway out of the red sedan's window, firing relentlessly. His description was cold, almost detached, as if the shooter showed no hesitation. No mercy. The officers, against all odds, survived. Their quick response, their training, and perhaps sheer willpower kept them alive long enough to fight back and force the attackers to retreat. But survival came at a cost. Scars, both physical and psychological, would stay with them long after the chase was over. When I replay the footage in my mind, I can't help but imagine what it felt like inside that cruiser. The deafening roar of gunfire, the violent jolt of metal ramming against metal, the sight of sparks, glass, and darkness all blending together in a single chaotic storm. And yet, they endured. That is what makes this footage more than just a violent clip on a screen. It is a testament to resilience, to courage, and to the brutal reality that law enforcement sometimes faces. The attack was not the end of the story. It was the beginning of a larger investigation, one that revealed a network operating in the shadows, planning hits with military precision. But that is a story for another time. For now, what remains is the haunting reality of what those two officers endured, and the insane footage that captured every second of it.
If this story meet your interest, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment below and tell me about a time someone saw your worth when others didn't, or about a time you chose to see someone else's value when the world told you to look away. Subscribe for more stories that will challenge your assumptions, touch your heart, and remind you that the most powerful force in the universe isn't money or fame or success. It's love. It's courage. It's the decision to treat every person you meet as if they might be the hero of their own incredible story.